Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to try and piece together a puzzle that sits right at the very heart of education, and that's student engagement. Now, for years, we've known it's absolutely key to success. But what if I told you we've been looking at the picture with a crucial piece missing this whole time? Let's dive in.
So let's just start with the big question, right? What really makes a student successful? Is it just about, getting straight A's, having perfect attendance, or is there something deeper, something more fundamental going on here? As you can probably guess, the answer is way more interesting than what you see on the surface.
Well, it turns out the real secret sauce here isn't just about what's on the report card. The one idea that researchers and educators keep coming back to again and again is engagement. That blend of energy, focus, and connection a student feels with what they're learning and with their school. And look, this isn't just some fluffy, feel-good idea. The research on this is crystal clear. As this quote points out, engagement is a powerful predictor of real-world results. We're talking higher achievement, deeper learning, and even more success after students graduate. It is a massive deal. Okay, but here's the twist. And this is really what the research we're looking at today digs into. For years, how we've understood engagement has been, fragmented. We've been looking at different parts of it in isolation, but we've been missing a single, unified way to see the whole picture. It's kind of like trying to solve a puzzle when a crucial piece is still stuck in the box. All right, so here's our game plan for putting this whole puzzle together. We're going to start by looking at the two incomplete views that we've been working with. Then, we'll uncover that missing piece, something called student agency. We'll see how it helps create a brand new unified model, how the researchers actually tested it, and what this more complete picture really means for the future of education. Okay, so first up, let's look at how we used to see things, which, as this research points out, was based on two really common, but ultimately incomplete perspectives. So the first way of looking at it is super simple. It basically just splits engagement by where it happens. You've got your in-class engagement, paying attention in lectures, joining discussions, and then you have your out-of-class engagement, things like joining clubs or feeling like you're part of the campus community. Makes sense, right? But it only tells us where engagement is happening, not really what it is. All right, the second view drills down a little deeper. It breaks engagement into three different parts. First up is participatory engagement. This is all about the how, the visible stuff, like actually showing up to class. Then you've got emotional engagement, which is the feel part. Does the student feel like they belong? Are they interested? And finally, there's cognitive engagement, the think part, the mental heavy lifting and effort. But even with these three, something was still missing. And that brings us to the big breakthrough, the missing puzzle piece that honestly changes the whole game: student agency. So what on earth is agentic engagement? It's a student's active, and this is the key word, proactive contribution to their own education. It's that moment when a student stops just being a receiver of information and starts actively shaping their own learning. Seriously, this is a total game changer. Okay, here's why this is so different. Those first three types of engagement we talked about, they're mostly reactive. They're a student's response to the class or the teacher. But agentic engagement is proactive. It's when a student initiates. Think about it. It's the student who puts their hand up not just to answer, but to ask a what-if question, or suggests a better way to tackle a group project. They become co-creators of their own education. So now that we've found this missing piece, how does it snap into place with everything else? This is that aha moment where the whole picture just clicks. So if you remember, we had those first three components: participatory, emotional, and cognitive, and we could map them across the two places, in class and out of class. It gave us this grid, but as we now know, it was missing something huge. A whole layer of what students do was basically invisible in this old model. And boom, here it is. By adding that fourth row for agentic engagement, we suddenly have a complete, unified 4x2 model. This is the first time we have a framework that says, hey, students can be the ones driving the bus, both inside the classroom and out in the wider campus world. It gives everyone a common language to talk about the full picture. Okay, so this model looks great on paper, right? But a theory is just a theory until you test it. So how did the researchers know this thing actually holds up in the real world? Well, they went out and put it to the test. They surveyed 312 undergraduate students in Vietnam, which gave them a ton of real-world data to crunch and see if this four-part idea really held water.
And they didn't just glance at the data either. They put it through this super rigorous 7-step validation process using some pretty advanced stats. And you know what they found? The data confirmed it. It pointed clearly to 4 totally distinct types of engagement. So what's the bottom line from all that number crunching? Well, the analysis proved that agentic engagement isn't just a variation of the others. No, it's its own unique, statistically separate thing. Their new 4-part model was a great fit for the real-world data, and it worked just as well for what happens in class as what happens outside of it. This gave them the hard evidence they needed for a new, better way to understand engagement. All right, so we've got this new validated model, which leads to the most important question of all. So what? Why does this actually matter to anyone? To students, to teachers, to the people running our schools? Well, for one thing, it hands educators an incredibly powerful and flexible new tool. For the first time, they can analyze engagement in 2 ways. They can look vertically to compare the 4 different types of engagement. Are students showing up but not feeling connected? Or they can look horizontally to see if engagement is higher in the classroom than it is in campus clubs. It gives them a much sharper, more detailed picture. At the end of the day, by finally putting all these pieces together, this model gives us a much richer, more holistic way to understand what makes students tick and what makes them successful. It helps us see students not just as people things happen to, but as active, essential partners in their own education. And that really leaves us with one last massive question to chew on. If we really believe this, if students are truly co-creators in their own learning, and their proactive agency is a key ingredient for success, then how do our schools, our universities, our entire educational systems need to change to truly empower them? What does an education built around student agency actually look like? Now that's the puzzle for all of us to solve.